The day a pine cone nearly killed me. I'm Coach Ábris, founder of Demi Cycle Protocol, and we help high performers and entrepreneurs above the age of 40 and 50 get in the best shape of their life, get below 15% body fat, and double their energy levels without having to use stimulants or sleep drugs or any kind of unnatural stuff. And how does this relate to how a pine cone nearly killed me? First of all, now that I introduced myself, I also have to tell you that I am a severe adrenaline addict. And is that a good or a bad thing? How does that relate to fat loss and muscle gain and sleep optimization? How are these things about entrepreneurial and physical performance, how are they correlating, and how did this whole thing happen, and hopefully what you can learn from this. So by the end of this video, you will have complete clarity on how to utilize adrenaline in your life, how to avoid near-death experiences, and if you happen to have a near-death experience, how to come back from it, and how actually a higher than average muscle mass can save your life. So let's get into it. In my life, I had so far 2 near-death experiences, and one of them was caused by a couple of pine cones, and the other one was caused by a woman. Maybe that's a story for another day, and I will make a video called How a Woman Nearly Killed Me, right? It sounds funny, but it wasn't when living through the whole situation. But the thing is, I used to ride my motorbike. I was back then studying at university in Denmark and used to go to work with my motorbike and stuff like that. And probably some of you who are watching this and you grew up in the maybe much earlier than me, right? So if you're watching this channel, probably you're a high achiever and entrepreneur in your 40s and 50s, and you want to know that, okay, how did my clients transform their lives, and how did this happen? How guys your age, just like my clients, can achieve the same too. And if you happen to have lived in the 70s, 80s, right, or that was the period when you kind of grew up, then you might be into motorcycles as well. And you know that cyclists, or like bikers, right, they like living on the edge, or at least always trying to find out where their edge is. And I think I found my edge, or like got pretty close to it twice, mainly because of speeding, mainly because of the acceleration that I got addicted to. But the thing is, my muscle mass and my resilience saved me. Basically, they saved my life. So I had 2 accidents, and the first of them was the most shocking for me, because that completely, blew my mind, almost literally, and it completely messed up my left knee. I don't know if it is visible, but there's like a patch where normal skin can never grow there again. It's just like a shadow of what it used to be. After that, I've been dealing with chronic stress, sleep issues, stuff like that. Lost half of my hair. Yes, I used to have like twice as much as I have right now. And I had all of these different health problems that I had to solve for myself before I started my business and started solving these for my clients. So the thing, how it happened and how I came back from it, is that by that time I already had like a pretty decent amount of muscle mass. I was involved in calisthenics, powerlifting, military athletics, and a lot of different sports that I enjoyed at the time, but the main trajectory was strength sports, so more like powerlifting, strongman, bodybuilding, and so on. I only competed in powerlifting, and I just generally enjoyed going to the gym and training there. But the thing is, this has all resulted, any kind of athleticism and any kind of resistance training combined with a high protein diet and a stable sleep protocol, these together will result in an enhanced amount of muscle mass. And why is it important for you? Because this can actually save your life. Because after that, I kind of had to learn how to walk again. I couldn't walk for quite a long time properly. I had to start rebuilding certain lifts, certain strength targets, almost from ground zero, right? Especially the ones involving my legs, like deadlifts and squats. And I could have become like one of those dudes in their 40s and 50s, and you might be one of these. So You might be one of them, so don't get offended when I say that I used to bench 3 plates in high school, right? So you might be guilty of saying this, right? And I might have been guilty of this if I said that, okay, I'm quitting right now, because back then I was like only 20 years old, right? And at 20 years old, when you just can't continue the sport that you really love doing, right? That sucks. Or at least you have to go for a prolonged period of rest time without anyone giving a damn, right? Because your competitors, they will still keep training, right? If you're out of business, your competitors will still keep improving their product, improving their positioning, improving their marketing, right? You have this kind of FOMO that, okay, what if I'm out of the game, right? Permanently. I felt the same. And had I not had this quite decent amount of muscle mass in reserve, I might not have survived the accident, because I would have been too weak. I would have lost too much blood, or who the hell knows what would have happened had I been weaker, right? Had I been less well built, right? So I'm not saying that you want to become a bodybuilder, but you definitely want to build a decent amount of muscle mass to gain protection against accidents like this. So yeah, about the pine cones. So how could pine cones nearly kill me? So I was riding my motorbike. I was going, way faster than it was allowed on the road, and I just slipped on a couple of pine cones with one of our tires, and I just fell. I flew, then I slipped on the ground, and whatever I did, it was literally a bloody experience. But the thing is, I was just fine after that. Like 2 years later down the line, I was deadlifting 210 kilograms, so that's like 440 pounds if I do the conversion correctly. So here we go, right? I'm still not, legs are still not my strongest area, not by any means, but it's not bad from someone coming back from a motorcycle accident. Actually, I had another one. That's a story for the other day, but what you can learn from this is that you definitely want to have your body composition being dominated by your lean muscle mass, right? So you want a body composition that's high in muscle mass and low in body fat, right? Relatively. So ideally, if you're a man, for you, this is, I would say, anywhere between like 9 to 16% body fat, where you will feel comfortable. Your hormone levels will be the most optimal possible. Your testosterone will be high. Growth hormone levels will be high. You will feel younger. You will feel more energetic. And that's very important, especially if you're already past 40. So, majority of your diseases related to age could be cured by just having a little bit more muscle mass and just a little bit less fat, or a lot less fat, depending on like what is your body fat percentage right now. Obesity, I do think, killed more people than all the tyrants and dictatorships in the whole world so far, and all the deadliest weapons and nuclear warheads and whatever. Obesity has claimed more lives. So you definitely don't want to be obese, but you also don't want to be extremely skinny, because then if you find your edge, right, if you have a near-death experience, which is not that rare that you think, I think everyone at least once in their lifetime will have a near-death experience, and whether you survive it or not completely depends on, okay, what kind of tools are you equipped with for survival. So what I mean by what kind of tools are you equipped with for survival is that there are certain characteristics of a human that makes them eligible for survival. And this could be how fast you react. This could be how mobile you are, how agile you are. This could be also your muscle mass. So how much you have left until your body completely eats itself during the recovery process. This could be your cognitive skills. This could be your motoric functions, whatever that in a certain situation helps you surviving. And another thing that claims a lot of lives next to obesity and next to just being skinny is like sarcopenia. And too few people and coaches and health professionals are talking about this, but this is the age-related muscle loss at around a rate of 1% per year over the age of 40, and I think it's serious. I have seen my grandfather who had kind of like pretty jagged biceps and stuff like that. He never lifted a single day in his life. He was just like, yeah, good at working, right? He had pretty decent biceps and shoulders and forearms and stuff like that, but I've seen him lose this muscle mass year by year in his past 2 decades, right? In his last 2 decades, he was year by year losing his muscle mass at an alarming rate, right? Because actually this process, the sarcopenia, is reversible. So there are studies, countless of studies that prove that you can build muscle mass just by resistance training and following a high protein animal-based diet, or like animal-based protein-based diet, but not only that, so not carnivore, just all the protein that you're eating are from animal sources. If you follow that and you get a decent amount of high quality, deep and efficient sleep every single night, you should be able to not just retain but actually build your muscle mass further in your 60s, 70s and even in your 80s. So it doesn't matter what type of training are you doing, whether you go to the gym or not, you train at home or at the workout park, it doesn't matter. As long as you provide resistance for your muscles, you will make progress. Guess what, right? So it's that simple, and that's one way to prevent sarcopenia when you get old. So this is what near-death experiences can teach you, and this is how you start thinking differently about age, right? Because I'm still a young buck, but with the experience of having coached over 50 men over the age of 40 and 50 who are all in high-performing positions and they had limited time to allocate towards their health, I understand your situation right now. And as a person who has seen the Grim Reaper, and we almost shook hands with the Grim Reaper, and I felt that death was near, but eventually I survived. I know how it feels to be near that, and I wanted to get as far away from it as possible. So from the age of 20, it wasn't important to me that much anymore to look good or to be the strongest and biggest person alive on this planet. I just wanted to make sure I'm as far from the Grim Reaper for the rest of my life as possible. I want to be the healthiest, most energetic, and most lively self, or my most energetic self that has ever existed or that could ever exist. And I, at this point, don't even care how many years I will live. I do believe that with the habits that I'm cultivating, I will make it way past 80, but if any chance I would die sooner, I know that those years will be high quality. My kids will never have to put me into an elderly home or take care of me or change my diapers or whatever, right? I don't want to be that person who walks with a stick, or just can't even walk when he's old because his leg muscles got so weak or his joints got so weak, right? Or I don't want to become the person who gets his legs amputated because of diabetes, right? So well, I've seen grown men cry like babies because of having to cut their legs off. So you don't want to become one of those people. That's very hard to watch and even harder to experience. So God save you from that, but I would say save yourself if you want God to save you, right? So you want to take responsibility for your health because no one else is going to do it for you, right? Especially not the state, especially not health authorities and stuff like that, who will do everything but not in favor of your health, right? They just care about, increasing their profits. You can see anything, behind this, like what is the real reason. I don't care. It's just simply they want to make more money on you becoming sicker, right? And I think that's a bad business model, because in the long term, a satisfied person, satisfied, customer, whatever, is much better. He makes much better impact than millions and billions of sick people who keep being repeat buyers, right? Because then you just create a perpetual machine of suffering, which no one will enjoy in the end, not even the profiteers, because the currency that they are paying with is their soul, right? So that's why you just can't trust these modern health authorities and stuff like that. And at the end of the day, it's all your responsibility. So you have to be the one who makes sure that you delay the time when you shake hands with the Grim Reaper as much as possible, right? And okay, acknowledging that a slightly bit lower body fat levels and higher lean muscle mass could actually change your life is just only the first step. But you also have to recognize that actually being an addict of adrenaline is not necessarily a bad thing, right? So what do I mean by that? So if you happen to be watching this channel, probably you work a high performing job or like a performance sales based job, or you run your own business, but you're curious how to get your health in check in the meantime if you have limited amounts of time available, but more or less unlimited resources, or where to train, how to sort your food and stuff like that. You just want more clarity and a clear game plan, right? So if you want that, actually you are in a great position, because as an entrepreneur or someone who is a high performer, you are constantly looking for your edge. You think differently than other people. You have a completely different approach compared to them, and this is why you are good at taking risks. You took your risks in life, and now you are reaping the fruits of your labor, and congrats for you. It's great for you. So I'm not saying that don't be an adrenaline addict, because how would I know all the things I know today? How would I have started this entire health coaching company, Demi Cycle Protocol? How would I have started actually making an impact and helping people if those pine cones on that day don't think that they can kill me, right? So don't underestimate those pine cones, by the way. And don't underestimate your ability to chase adrenaline. Don't do this in real life. Of course, I don't encourage you to buy a Harley Davidson right now, ride down the motorway and crash with a truck, because then, well, you won't end up well, right? Especially if you don't have the muscle mass for that yet, right? I'm not even sure if you can have that much muscle mass that could save you from a truck, coming to you at 100 miles per hour. But if you happen to slip on pine cones with a pretty decent speed, you can still survive it if you have the tools for that. And one of the tools for it is your body. The second one is your mindset. Okay, so you're not looking at yourself like a sick person. I am a healthy person, and I adapt to the behaviors of a healthy person so I can heal myself faster. And of course, you acknowledge that adrenaline is actually not a bad thing, because if you're constantly looking for your edge, you are progressively overloading the amount of stress you can take. But you have to find a point where you shouldn't stretch more forward in the same direction. You might have to choose another direction. So for example, hitting the brakes and just turning a little bit right or turning a little bit left, right? So just taking over those pine cones so the accident doesn't happen, right? So it's when you pivot in business, because you don't want the stress of, let's say, trying to expand on a dying market, like modern education. Hello, wake up, right? Or let's say you don't want to work in a relationship which has already died. Let's say you got cheated on multiple times. Why would you want that once more, right? Sounds a little bit weird. So chasing adrenaline doesn't mean that you are chasing it always in the same direction. You have to learn how to pivot and how to put your focus on other things sometimes. And let's say if you've been successful with business so far, and the next step for you is being a global top 10 brand in your industry, but that would come with such a soul-crushing competition that you couldn't basically talk a calm word to your family anymore, then you might as well just say, hey, what if in the next 3 years my main focus would rather be my health instead of just business, right? So you start cultivating, you start picking up those habits which will make both your health and your business function better once you return to more aggressively focusing your business again. So just think about it. These things are all interconnected and they support each other. If you have more energy, you perform better in business. You focus better, you can complete your tasks sooner. If you complete your tasks sooner, you can be more present with your family. You're more present with your family, you don't feel guilt or anxiety, so you can fall asleep faster. You fall asleep faster, you will have more energy the other day, and it keeps creating this kind of self-generating positive circle, this kind of never-ending upwards spiral. So what's not to enjoy about it, right? So this is what you want to remember, that okay, just because you chase adrenaline, you don't necessarily have to chase it in the same direction. You can pivot and chase adrenaline there, and this is what we call progressive overload, because you always want to find where your edge is. Okay, how could I further reduce my body fat, right? How could I be more shredded, right? How could I lift a little bit more every single week? How could I improve my sleep score just by 1%, right? Of course, after a certain amount of time, when you're already satisfied with how you look, or more or less satisfied, you're below 15% body fat, it doesn't matter that much. But if you're overweight and you start from 30% body fat, you're low energy during the day, you have pain and aches everywhere, of course you want to gamify this, and of course you want to find your edge, because you will have to jump over multiple edges until you become that person who is worthy of a lean and energetic and fit body that he can sustain for the rest of his life. So of course you want to find your edge, right? But you don't want to find your edge in business anymore because you have jumped over multiple edges, right? Now it's time to jump over the edges in your health. So this is how I interpreted my lesson from a couple of pine cones nearly killing me and, suffering motorbike accidents, into the simple notion of the importance of muscle mass and chasing adrenaline in the right direction, pivoting in time. So if you happen to be one of these high achievers or entrepreneurs over the age of 40 and 50, and you have broken multiple edges, right? Multiple milestones and records in your business, but at this point you feel like, okay, your health has been put on the back burner and it's not like how it used to be. Your family tells you you're constantly not present in the moment, you're low energy, and this kind of like bothers you, then feel free to go to the description, book a free call with us, and we will walk you through on our exact processes on how we help over 50 men similar to you get in the best shape of their lives in less than 2 to 3 hours per week without counting a single calorie or without restricting your diet, and we will come up with a custom game plan on how you can get there too. However, if you are not interested, or if you prefer the soul-crushing stress of neglecting your health and paying 10, 20, 30 times bigger medical costs later on in your life, or if you're the type of person who gets motivated but then becomes afraid of the possibility of his own success and starts procrastinating, then don't book a call yet. Go to my channel, look through my previous videos, and I will get your mind in shape first, so you will have that kind of way of thinking that will make you a person who is good fit for working with us. Until then, work on your mindset first, because If you're not ready to get started, if you're not an action taker, if you're a procrastinator, no one's gonna respect you, right? Had you had done that in your business, probably you wouldn't be here today. You wouldn't be at that level where you are satisfied with your professional life. So try to translate that type of adrenaline chasing, that type of trying to find your edge, and that type of discipline. Try to translate that into your health, because that's the only way it's gonna work, right? You don't have to restrict your diet, you don't have to count calories, you can break a lot of rules, just stay consistent and disciplined and make a commitment. If you're not ready to make a commitment, don't book a call with us, right? And if you find this lesson useful, and if you could learn from it, or you found it interesting that once I was nearly killed by pine cones and what I learned from that, then feel free to like this video, let me know what you think in the comments below, and share this with your friends, your family members, your team members, your colleagues, your employees, or whoever could find it useful to not die before the age of 40 or 50 or 60 or 70, right? And for everyone basically who wants to prevent muscle loss related to age or any type of health deterioration. So let's take care of each other, and thank you guys. Thanks for watching, and watch out for the pine cones.